tell me a little bit about your background. You just say your name
Okay,
and the background you have. You grow up into the music.
into the music industry, right? My name is Glen Waul, and I am the nephew of Tom Wang, otherwise known as Tom the Great Sebastian. So, for those people who don't know who Tom the Great Sebastian was,
Mm.
he was the first sound system ever in Jamaica in the 40s.
And what is a sound system?
All right, a sound system in today's date, they, they have it like a discotheque, meaning you have the boxes that goes along with the amplifier, and whenever you get an engagement, wherever the engagement is, you would pack this system in your truck, your van, or whatever it can hold, take it to the location, string it up, and then play music to entertain the people or the patrons who are there at that moment.
Right. So it's like the sound system was like a mobile discotheque
Right, it was.
for people to dance
Oh
or
yeah,
listen.
people to both listen and dance, but it wasn't for dancing, because it's a form of entertainment. And at that time, instead of going to the clubs, the nightclubs, which there was more nightclubs in Kingston at the time, more than sound system. So sound system was actually the poorer people entertainment.
Okay. So
So they would keep these dances. Then they have a cover charge to go in, which is not much, what the poor people could afford, because before then, if you go to the popular nightclubs, then admission would be way higher
right.
than what you would pay to go in a dance.
So this was the sound systems that your uncle started in Jamaica was
Uh,
the way. Uh, it was a way to spread the music to the poor people.
to the poor people entertainment.
Yeah.
It's really the poorer class entertainment at the time.
And
So he
what
came up with the idea that if he put a sound system together, he could play music to entertain the people at a cheaper cost.
right? And even today you have those sound systems
Yeah,
still here.
there are many
Yeah.
sound systems here today, all over the island, every parish, every little corner. People even have sound system as their hobby at home. People even do that at home as their hobby. But he was actually the first person that came up with it in the 40s. And as far as the history is concerned, his history, it has been actually lost in the system for a while. So I am now kind of introducing it to Jamaica and to the world who Tom the Great Sebastian was.
Right. And tell me a little bit about the great Sebastian.
Okay. There was, I gather certain information before I was born from my aunt, which is the only living siblings, as she's 96 years of age. Her name is Vina Wang, which is Tom Wang's sister, older sister.
Yeah.
What she told me that Tom was the youngest of 9 kids, 4 boys and 5 girls. They actually was born in Crooked River, that was in the parish of Clarendon. They were born to a Chinese, because you notice the name Wang. These were the first set of Chinese that migrated to Jamaica in about in the 19th century somewhere. Because my aunt, she's 96 years of age, so it actually she born from 1918. Now, Tom was the youngest of the group. He was born in 1927. And their parents separated. So he, as the youngest one, actually grew up with his stepfather. His stepfather used to make sugar from sugar cane because that was the means of a living back then at the time. Now he, Tom, had to take this sugar cane on a donkey to the market to deliver for his dad to people who buys from his stepfather. Well, apparently he got frustrated with doing this every day as a young man, and maybe he had seen where there's more opportunity. So he ran away from Clarendon, Crooked River in Clarendon, and he came to Kingston. Well, whatever happens after that, it bloomed into something very successful then. Because I have some pictures here that shows his success.
Right.
This was when he came to Kingston, and if you could own a car like this in Kingston back then, you got to be doing good, real good.
Yeah, it looks like a nice car there.
Right, it got, well then, it got to be some nice car. So this is apparently where all his success started. Then he bought his first property in Kingston 12. That is now known as Jonestown back then. The address was like 8 John Street, Kingston 12, and at the time, that property was the largest property in and around that area. So whatever success he had going, it was going good for him at the time. Now,
The sound system that he used was a popular thing among the people.
yes, definitely was popular. He then started an hardware business, which apparently this was his main source of income at the time. And then the sound system to him was like a hobby. But this was his main business at the time. And then he was doing successful because at the time this hardware was like the #1 hardware in that area back then, because he used to distribute to some smaller hardwares back then. Well, prior to that, he bought this 1957 Hudson Jet, which at the time, I'm assuming it was a very expensive car at the time, because not many people in that time could have actually bought a car. So he had a van to take around the sound system, and then he has this car as his, I suppose, his luxury car that he drives around on Sundays and things like that. Now, his headquarters for playing his sound system, the name of the place was Silver Slipper. Silver Slipper.
Oh, okay.
It was Silver Slipper Club at the time. Presently, that club has been torn down and they turned it into a plaza. But at the time, this was his #1 playing area. Like on Easter Mondays, they would have 2 dances. One in the afternoon for the younger folks, what you would call a matinee dance.
Yeah.
And then at night, they would have the elder people dance, which in today's day, 2014, nothing of that sort is happening. If you got 1 dance for the day, then that's just 1 dance. There's apparently so much sound system that you couldn't keep a dance afternoon and night and get, the same support to keep it going.
But he was, at that time, in the beginning, he was the only one.
He was the only one.
So he didn't have any competition.
Right, at the time. So, and he actually played at places, I can remember places like Jubilee House, which was on Wildman Street, downtown. You have Forester's Hall, which was close by on North Street, downtown. He goes as far as St. Mary in Alterra Beach,
Okay.
where he takes a set to play music. I remember once where he took the set to Lime Cay, which is a little island off the coast of Port Royal. So he had to load the sound system on a boat along with the people who are interested to go. And on the way back from Lime Cay, there were so much, so they had to send for another boat to unload some of the people off in order for it to submerge so it could continue back into the harbor. But that was the only way you could get to Lime Cay by boat. So people used to take boat. And I remember this clearly because it was something amazing to me as a kid. Because I actually grew up in the dance. Because what happened then is that it was a family business wherein when he keeps a dance like he keeps a dance at Silver Slipper, he has his sister, which is my mom, that runs the bar. He has his other sister that she collects the money at the gate. And he has his brother that tears the ticket to let you in. So it's all family. And ever since I was born, I grew up in that dance thing. My mom had to take me from the time I was born in order to support her brother. So I remember certain things I can remember vividly. It's like there were times when I used to sleep under the bar counter. And then when I woke up, I was soaking wet because the drinks, when they serve the drink on tap, the water sleeps through the cracks. And I was soaked underneath. And the other things I could remember vividly is that as soon as I could walk, I had to pick up empty bottles. That's what they taught me to do then. So it was me and two of my other cousins. We used to pick up empty bottles for him. And there was times now after doing this job, he used to give us tuppence a case. So for each case of 24 empty bottles, we used to get a tuppence for each case. So as kids, cousins, we were trying to see who can make the most money. So the person with the most cases, those are the person who made the most money. The other thing I can remember vividly too is that before the dance starts, they used to polish the dance floor with red oxide liquid. And then he hires like 3-4 women to shine the floor. Shine it as much as you can see your face in it. And before every dance, that's what they do. Because these guys that come to the dance, if you notice, they are well-dressed people. And these ladies used to wear a dress they call crinoline underneath the dress. So the dress spreads far apart. So whenever the guys let her out and she spins, her dress is way out there.
Yeah.
So, but these people used to enjoy these dances because as a kid I was watching it. They used to enjoy these dances so much. It's unbelievable.
What kind of music did they play?
At the time, it was all American music. They were playing guys like Louis Prima, Billy Vaughn. I can remember clearly at the time, Lord Creator was one of the first Caribbean artists that had recorded a song at the time that they used to play at the dance. Then after that, after Jamaica got independent, then a lot of artists came up like Prince Buster. You have Derek Morgan, and then prior to my uncle start this set, then there comes along Duke Reed, which is another set that followed behind him. Then you have Sir Coxsone, Downbeat, which is Studio One. as you might record. He came after too. And then the sound thing just took off. The sound thing just took off. And
But in the beginning it was foreign music
yeah,
that
just
on vinyl.
right. Yeah, it's 78 records.
Where did he find the vinyls?
I'm thinking that he might had some connection overseas that brought these vinyls to him. That's the only thing I'm thinking, because traveling to the United States at the time wasn't so prevalent, because I don't think you maybe have an aircraft that goes to the States every day like what is happening now. So he had some connection there where he got these records. How he got them, I don't know. But he had his way, he had his thing. But like I said, it was so interesting to me at the time as a kid to see, to go on these trips with him. Because he was like a mentor to me. Because I spent most of my both young days, school days, in and around his hardware and around him. One time I even lived at his house. We were living at his house. His house was so big that it could accommodate my mother and her family and him and his family. He had and later on, because of the size of his house that he had, this actually became his hobby, playing table tennis. So he actually formed a table tennis club, which was the name of, he named it T-View Table Tennis Sport Club, which at the time it was the second table tennis club in Jamaica. The first one was Wilford Aces, which was run by the Foster family, which at the time they were like the best set of players. So we used to go from clubs to club playing competition. So this was actually his team at the time at his club. So he used to, this was his pastime. And then because of the fact that where he had lived, there was so much land, he built a nice clubhouse. And he would use this same clubhouse to keep dances, too. So he used the clubhouse for his entertainment, and he used the clubhouse to make money. So everything, he was just good enough that way. Anyhow, in this picture, in 1963, he had bought this property up in Kingston, 10. This was like the upper class people used to live here at the time. So he bought this property in 1963, and then he moved from Jonestown, where he had his first property. Yeah. And this was where he moved to.
So he was doing quite well with the sound system.
He was doing both well with the sound system and well with the business, the hardware business. Because in 1963, when he took this picture, you had a lot of sounds then coming in from all over. Because by then, like Winston, Meritone, and these guys, they came into Kingston in 1962. So at the time when they came in, there was like Coxon, there was like Duke Reed, there was like a whole lot of different sound system all over. Then it started to spread into Spanish Town. So there was sound system from Spanish Town coming into Kingston to seize a piece of the pie, because then the population started growing, so more people start dancing. So these sounds end up playing at different venues. There was time when these sounds used to have their clashes. Okay. Meaning, I am at a venue on this side of the road, and the other guy is on a venue on the other side of the road. So the guy who's playing the best music, then that's where the people would go. Because they're on the streets, they're listening to see who's playing the better music, or to see where the girls are going. The guy is watching where the girls are going, and whenever the girls go, then the guys follow. Cause
Like all over the
like
world.
all over. Wherever the girls go, the guys follow.
Yeah.
And yeah. Well, this picture is a picture I think he took on his, I think his 35th birthday. He took this picture and made it into a postcard. So he signed the back of it and he gave it to his friends and his family. This was his 35th birthday picture. And he sent this picture to his brother. And that's how I got hold of his picture. Because it actually went to his brother, because when I got the picture, I look at the back. I got all these pictures from my aunt, like I said, who's still alive at age 96. So all of these pictures came through her, because at this time, I maybe was not even old enough to take a picture at the time. So, and then tragedy strikes, because in 1966, he committed suicide. Now, it was being rumored that he had problems with his wife, and that was the main cause of it. But for me, as a man, I'm trying to figure, how could he have a woman that gave him such a problem that he could take it to the point where he killed himself? And this was a man, he had like he had 6 kids. And he had them with 3 different women. So at the time, I think he had more women as the first sound system and more than anything else. So it's so funny to know that that was the main cause of it. So for me, I think it's a mystery. And he died, and I up until today, I don't know the questions.
So, but he did kill himself deliberately.
Right, yeah, he killed himself deliberately. What he did is that he went home and he got this hose that he put from the tailpipe of the car into the car, wind the windows up. Then, next it turned into a gas chamber. But I think he had to be almost drunk for him to stay in a car like that with fumes coming in that he inhaled. So what happened, I think he went out, he maybe drank some beers or drank some alcohol, but apparently he planned it, because for a man to kill himself, I don't know. I don't think I could ever do that to myself. And at the time, he was so successful, and most of the family, including myself, was looking forward to him as the most successful person in the family. Then we could all maybe work along with him, and at the end of the day, maybe we could get a little piece of the cake somewhere, somehow. Now he died, and from he died, everything went down. Both with the family, because everybody took it so hard at the time. And this is a picture of the family picture at the funeral. Unfortunately, I'm not in this picture. But I see my sister right here, and all the rest is cousins, and at the back his brothers and sister at the back there, because he died before everybody. He died at age 39. Because he died in 1966 and he was born in 1927. So he died very young, at age 39. And, he left everybody in mourning from 1966, even up until now. And in 2012, the Jamaica Music Industry Association had an award where they give a lot of people awards for their achievement in music. And if you noticed here, they gave him an award for an outstanding achievement as a sound system operator. And this was 2012. This is the award plaque that they gave him. So, you know, his name is still history in the Jamaican music industry. But it's just that this might be the first heads up interview on him, because there is nothing in the system right now. I mean, a lot of people know his name. And the younger generation know his name.
When we have been traveling around talking to people about music,
his name comes up. But a lot of people, all they do is know his name and aware of him as a sound system operator. But all these pictures and all these things, nobody, you know, ever seen them before. So, you know, I'm very glad and appreciate whatever is happening right now. So at least it could spread across Jamaica and across the world for them to know that this is the first man that forms a sound system in Jamaica.
And what do you think the impact of the sound system that he brought to Jamaica have had on the development of reggae music?
Reggae music. Well, the sound system actually spreads the music to all the corners. No matter how, what I should say, no matter how desolate the area is in Jamaica, because if you go to the main towns, you hear the music, but sound system is something that goes to the deeper parts of Jamaica. And constantly hearing these music, then it goes from one thing to the other, because if a kid who has talent hear a sound system, then he maybe start listening to it. Then he starts humming or he starts singing to the sound system. Later on in life, you hear that he becomes a reggae singer or a DJ or something like that. And he appears on the international scene now, and it does well for himself, because if this sound system never comes into his little area, at that time he maybe would have never hear the music. So the sound system is the people that carry it to the smaller areas throughout the country.
And you also grew up with Bob Marley and Peter Tosh and all these big stars of reggae music. When you grew up together, did you listen to sound systems? Was that
well, in the beginning, like I said, where I started with my uncle, that was my main source of music, listening to music. But as the years goes on, then other sound systems got involved, because I suppose he started it, then this guy might have heard it and said, it sounds like something I can do. So once you have the money, then you go out and you buy whatever equipment you need, create a sound system, and then around the sound system, then that's where the music start to excel.
I was thinking like,
so
when you, let's say you and Winston and Bob Marley and all these people grew up in an environment, and at that time your uncle
he was out of existence.
Out of the system, but the sound system was still living that he created, so that you could hear the music.
Right.
Can you tell if you remember some times when you and your friends went to listen to sound system?
Sound system.
Like with Bob Marley and
Yeah, well, we used to go to places like Meritone was a popular spot. After my uncle died in 1966, well, there were all kinds of sound systems coming into the system from all over. But in Kingston, Meritone was like the #1 spot on Red Hills Road.
Meritone, that's the Blake brothers.
Right, the Blake brothers. So that was a popular place for us growing up to go. I mean, other than that, well, he was stable at a club, but he had sound system that goes out on the road to play wherever he get the engagement. Now, after Meritone, then sound system like Sir Patrick's, and that is from Spanish Town. And then as the years come on, then you find like maybe Stone Love was one of the #1 sound, and still one of the #1 sound right now. And you have someone like Kilimanjaro. As to name a few, you have Kilimanjaro, you have Stereograph, you have Ecotone. There were so many at the time now that the people who used to pay to keep these dances, they had choices now, a lot of choices. So the sound system that carry the largest crowd, because when you make your name from a sound system, then wherever you play, people will follow.
Just like a DJ.
Right, so if I'm keeping a dance now, I said to myself, so why? Because Stone Love been the #1 sound system in Jamaica for a long time, even up until today. So if I'm keeping a dance in this time now and I'm sure that I'm going to make some money off it, I would approach Stone Love, the owner, tell him the date, if he's available, pay him whatever the cost is, and then wherever you play, he would come.
Yeah.
Set up his sound, play for you.
Do you have any memories of going to one of these sound system venues when you were in the upper teens, you know?
Upper teens.
Yeah. And did any of the people that later became reggae musicians participate to go to these places? Do you have any memories of it?
Yeah, there's what sound system now becomes now, that even in the streets, sound system is being played now. Because there was one particular place, namely, even on Red Hills Road, they used to call it front line. You have sound system used to come. The area that he has this bar wasn't big enough to hold a sound system. So what he used to do, he used to set up the sound system on the streets, on the sidewalk. Set up a bar on the sidewalk, and then the people who knows that this particular sound is playing there, then what they would do, come, park the car, stay on the side of the street, drink beer, listen to music, and that's it for the night. And then when certain people keep dance with this sound system, then certain popular artists would pass and would say a word or two on the mic. I can remember clearly, a friend of mine was keeping this dance in Upper St. Andrew. And he was on the side, he kept the dance on the side of the road. And like about 12 o'clock that morning, Luciano, who was a popular singer in Jamaica, he was passing. And he stopped. And then the guy the promoter of the dance, went to him and said, if him can say 2 words on the mic. He said, okay. And he took the mic and he went on for like about a half hour doing his thing. And some of these DJs in Jamaica, that's actually how they started. They started on a particular sound system doing DJ till eventually they end up in the studio and make records.
So they were kind of singing to the music they were playing. and
Right.
that way learn
Right.
how to perform.
Right, because most of these sets nowadays, they have the equipment where they can just play the rhythm. And then whosoever is on the mic, they do their thing. And a lot of these artists, especially the DJ ones right now, that's where they stem from, sound system, DJing on sound system. Till eventually after they got it perfection wise, then they say, okay, let's hit the studio. And then from there now, it go into records, and then that's where they take off. And then from there now, they enter into stage show. So they're not doing any DJ and no sound anymore. So it gives another young guy an opportunity to join the bandwagon.
Yeah, and maybe play the previous records.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, eventually. And most of these DJs do nowadays, or most of these reggae singers, when they have a record that they think maybe should be a hit, they go to these different sound systems, give the guy a copy, and ask him to play it at his dance. If it's good enough, then he continue plays it. But if the people who at the dance don't gravitate to it, then he would put it somewhere down at the bottom.
Yeah.
But once that music play and the people them start to move to it, you know you're gonna keep it on top.
Right.
Yeah, you definitely gonna keep it on top. So most reggae artists, at least, I would say 80% of reggae artists started from sound system. They started on the mic from sound system. I remember Barrington Levy. He used to be down in Greenwich Farm. And he used to be on the mic of a particular sound in Greenwich Farm. Later on in life, today, he's a big reggae singer in England. So at least 80, 90% of them started on a sound system, DJing, until they venture out into different.
So the sound systems gave the common people
Yeah,
a chance to play with the music and
develop into something big. Yeah, that's where they get. That's what gives them most of them their big break. Their big break. You name them, and they are at some stage of them career when they started. They were playing and DJing and sound system.
So your uncle might have been the first seed.
Yeah, the first seed planted.
Reggae music.
His selector at the time and his MC at the time was Machuki. His name was Machuki. I heard recently from Striker Lee that he died in England, which I wasn't aware of. After that, then he had like Louis Gooden was maybe the last selector on the sound system just before he died. But most of these DJs is actually coming. Sound system has done a big job of promoting most of these reggae artists. At least just about maybe all of them. Sound system has done that for them. And it all started from my uncle.
In the 1940s.
In the 40s, right. In the 40s. But, you know, as I said today, it's still a mystery how he died. But his legacy is still continuing today in all corners of Jamaica. And it even stretches as far as even the US. Because if you go to a lot of places in the US now, these guys still have sound system playing. They still have sound system playing. But it's all good.
This is really good.
Yeah, I know. Well, like I say, I have to big up my brother Winston Harriet and big up you, Peter, Ronaldo, your wife, Maria, not to mention your daughter, Cassandra, because I think she's going to be the next big reggae superstar in the world, not only in Sweden, but in the world. So